Look at you, Andy. Look at you all bundled up, man. Little lumberjack guy. We got a little snow, drizzle, overcast, stormy Monday. And you go all Paul Bunyan, man. And what? For what end? And don't just tell me, because you got a note here that says today, December 11th, is International Mountain Day. Is that international or national? International. So we're celebrating everything from Pikes Peak to Mount Everest? Okie dokie then, I guess. We live on the Rocky Mountain front, so we are in the right place, right? But you didn't have to go all lumberjack on me, man. Yeah, it's Monday, December 11th. And we are here as usual on Monday morning for your weekly dose of highbrow hijinks and assorted information that may or may not be suitable for small children. Okay? So you've been warned. All right. We're listening to a little Mamas and the Papas. Before the show started, the hunt for vinyl always continues. I had people tagging me over the weekend. Vinyl collections for sale here in Great Falls. Thanks. Keep tagging. I'm down to looking for a couple Alice Coopers, a couple Steve Miller bands, and whatever is my fancy. But I mean, it's not over, but you know. Right. I did find AC/DC Back in Black after almost 8 months. It was a virgin, unopened copy. I know. It was worth the wait because it was unopened. Like a virgin, kissed and played in the turntable for the very first time. You noticed the shirt, you say. You do. You notice the shirt. Z93, the greatest rock ever made. It was a local station here in Great Falls. It was owned, when I was dealing with it and was familiar with it, it was owned by Steve Dow. It's up there on the hill where the elevated marijuana dispensary is now. It's on my resume as one of the many radio stations that I worked at. I wasn't a regular employee, but Rod Gates would invite me up on Thursday afternoons when he'd do the driving home of Captain Rod show, and we would just pick out whatever the hell we wanted. You know, let's play some Uriah Heep. We just picked it out. I worked at, when I was growing up, I didn't really work there. I apprenticed, my first job on my resume, so yeah, it's a resume. Okay, and KTZZ was Steve Dow, Captain Rod Gates. He's gone now. Sad. My first actual experience was at CKLW, the Big 8, in Windsor, Ontario, and that's right across the river from Detroit, and that's where I apprenticed and learned how to play like turntables and pick music and do all the whatnot. And then from there, my mom and dad divorced, and that was in the late 60s, and that's when they divorced. Then I came, and in late high school, I did some work with the KYLT, and that was AM. Was playing the Seeds, man. We're pushing too hard. I worked in Lincoln, Nebraska at KWOW. Now in Wichita, I think, in Kansas. I pull it up and find out where KWOW moved. It wasn't, it was AM. And that was like Lincoln? Yeah, Nebraska. Yeah, Nebraska. That's where there's like blondes grow on trees. They all look like Penny from the Big Bang Theory. No, I'm not going to mention her cute feet. I've always played classic rock format wherever I've worked or wherever I've gone. What? I know. Most people don't even know that it's classic rock is a genre. It's a genre like heavy metal and jazz and blues and it's a genre. Classic rock, actually, it's when I'm talking classic rock, I'm also talking working in radio in the 60s and the 70s and album-orientated radio. AOR. Go! AOR! Go, team, go! Wow. That AOR format. That's when you would have albums. You'd have a turntable and a turntable, and then you'd pick from the albums because, frankly, if I had Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones on here and I had Magical Mystery Tour on a turntable here, I don't have any bad songs. Am I right? I'm right. Okay. So I don't have any bad songs. So you would, I've tried work. Yeah, why don't you work here in the town? We'll get to that. But I've walked into to radio stations looking for work, and that's since corporate takeover. Most of my experience was before the corporate takeover, so I never told someone. No one ever told me what to play. And so now when I walk in there, I met with, we don't pick our own music. It comes from corporate, and there's a list, and you pick from the list, and it's like, that's not shit. You're not. That's not a vocal personality. When they start telling people what to do, I don't. You can't just tell. Back when I worked in radio, the radio personality, they picked their own music, and then in the late '80s and in the late '70s, that it all came over when corporate taken over, and they had to come up and did your playlist. I talked to a local radio personality, and they told me that they started radio in the early '80s. That'd be the corporate time that corporate was there, and they never had to dig. They never had to figure out a playlist because, like I said, when you go in the door, they're like, "Wait, everything's here." All they have to do is put it in an order, talk. Automation takes all the rest. That's just what the problem is. I stumble through this because it's just they don't. What? The problem is automation. It's those same unimaginative 17 songs that the stations, and you know what they are, you hear them, we don't even get those anymore, that's in the corporate database, and then of course you got ads that go on forever, and the DJs now in radio, since the corporate takeover, is just monotone, trying to play songs, and, it came out before they were even born. They don't really have a clue. And then you couple all of that with the station. That's what gets me, Andy. Is that radio. When we were listening to this radio station here, it was a classic rock format. And that's what they played. You wouldn't hear Michael Jackson or all that, but the station. What they do is you got now radio today plays every format and every genre in a world to please this huge listening base. And because of automation, you're going to hear everything under the sun, but truly classic rock. You're going to hear heavy metal, 2000 alternative, grunge, pop, disco, MTV hits, anything but rock. What? I know. We had a person that we were talking to, not recently. We were talking to them. They were talking about Limp Bizkit, Puddle of Mud, and what was the other one? Linkin Park. That's classic rock. And that's what you hear on the radio. And that's what the radio's saying. They're saying, we're playing classic rock, and it's Limp Bizkit. Limp Bizkit. What a name. Linkin Park, or, Puddle of Mud, and that's not classic rock. It's a different genre. Maybe that's why Great Falls no longer has a bona fide classic rock station anymore. We never really did. Not one that really catered to album-orientated boomers that are, large listening, So no Doors, no Zeppelin, no Cream, Stones, Beatles. 10 years after, none of that kind of stuff is played in Great Falls anymore as of late. We have new stations. They sure play the shit out of Sum 41 and Green Day and Dave Matthews and Disturbed. Not that that's not bad music. That's not what I'm saying. We don't have a classic rock station. That's what I'm saying. We have Motley Crue, we have Poison, Michael Jackson, Pearl Jam. If you want to listen to classic rock in Great Falls, boomer rock, okay, call it boomer rock. Boomer rock. That's what we call it, boomer rock, Andy? It's like, we got boomer rock. Yeah, boomer rock. So if you want old-time rock and roll, I suggest the 101, is it 101.7 in Helena? A real good format. Real good format. Stuff I was listening to when I was growing up. Classic rock. Okay? There's nothing here at the moment. No, Andy. There's not. No. Jesus. Do we have time for me to get into this? You knew what is classic rock. You knew the answer before you asked it. It's a genre. It started with It started with the first two British invasions. That's like Garys and Pacemakers, Herman's Hermits, the Mercy Beats, the Kinks, the Zombies, the Animals, Eric Burdon, the Stones, the Beatles. All that in 62 and between 1962 and 64. Okay, and while that continued, all that invasion and classic start 75. Okay, the music scene changed. It changed forever with the British invasion, and of course the new war in Vietnam. So brought the advent of protest songs. So once the British invasion began, that set the stage for the Americans. We're like, all right, we can do this. You got Beatles and harmonies, we got the Beach Boys and the Byrds. You know, we got Jefferson Airplane, we got the Doors, we got Alice Cooper, we got psychedelic rock. Grateful Dead, It's a Beautiful Day, Quicksilver Messenger Service. And right there's boom. You know, we used to be listening to Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis, and now we're listening to the Byrds. It's a whole new era. It's a whole new genre. Was born, right? And radio at the same time. Radio at the same time. They damn near couldn't keep up with all the protest songs, like 10 years after, the one-hit wonders from, like, Norman Greenbaum, When I Die and They Lay Me to Rest, you know, the Young Bloods, the Lemon Pipers, don't forget Motown, okay, Marvin Gaye, the Supremes, Stevie Wonder, and the counterculture stuff like Airplane I already mentioned, and the psychedelic music, and then Country Joe. Well, come on, all you big strong man. Uncle Sam got himself in a terrible jam. All right, Way on Yonder down Vietnam. Okay, Steppenwolf, new hits by real musicians, not computerized, generated. People actually sitting down, writing songs, writing one-hit wonders, all the time. Okay, so what we got is this explosion of music going on. The radios can't even keep up. You know, then they're going from AM to FM. No static at all. Right, okay. And then it was over. Okay, it was over. The counterculture movement, the war movement, the classic rock movement, it was over. Remember, the Vietnam War ended in June of 1975. All of a sudden, the need for one-hit wonders and protest songs was like, what? We don't need that shit. Okay. Late 75 saw it on disco, to much of everybody's horror, creeping in to the scene, and that was late 70. By the fall, it was like the Average White Band, and Casey and the Sunshine Band, and the Ohio Players. They're all having hits by the fall. War's over. You know, bands are 75. The counterculture music of the late 60s, early 70s is starting to wane. Okay? Radio's keeping up with that tradition too. They got your top 40 radio stations are playing disco. Your underground FM are still playing classic rock. And then by early 1977, mid 77, the Saturday Night Fever, dancing, the craze was everywhere, and radio's covering that. The soundtrack was dominating your mainstream airwaves, okay? And disco was like Gloria Gaynor, Donna Summer, people like that were king, all right? And by the time that was going on, the corporate buyout of all the small local channels like Z93, which didn't sell out at the time, were getting the buyout from the large corporate, and corporate radio automation, was the death knell in classic rock. It's just like, and it's over. Okay? Now, what I hear is this. It's just like, it's the idea that classic rock is not a genre. It's just an age label that they've put on music. That's freaking bullshit. Anything over 20 years old is classic rock. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? I have got, it's like, you look on Facebook Marketplace, it's the same thing. I've got a classic toaster for sale. I've got some vintage music equipment for sale, and the shit's like 60 years old and doesn't work. Just because it's old. I've had corporate radio. I've had friends. I've had acquaintances tell me anything over 25 years old is classic rock. Be it Nirvana, be it Disturbed, be it Green Day, be it Sum 41, anything over 25. My counter to that is bullshit. I got a 25-year-old Plymouth Voyager van for sale. It's a real deal. It's over 25. It's a classic. It's vintage. Snoop Dogg, over 25 years old. I guess he's classic rock, right? And then you'll hear people go, oh no, Snoop Dogg's rap. Exactly. Classic rock is rap. Now, classic rock is a genre. Rap is a genre. Can we agree with that? That Coolio and LL Cool J and Snoop, they're rappers. They're not rockers. It's rap. But we also can agree that Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, the Byrds, Jefferson Airplane, right? So it's like I'm almost like teaching class today. So class, let's recap. The 60s through the mid-70s is the classic rock, Yardbirds, Cream, Hendrix, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. The late 70s is disco. Bee Gees, Ohio Players, Average White Band, pick up the pieces, da da da. Okay. Then we had arena rock, where these big bands like Journey, Boston, Styx, Kansas, 400 packed stadiums full, arena rock. Okay. None of that is clear. The disco is a classic rock. Arena rock is a classic rock. Then we got punk rock, okay, and industrial rock, like Blondie, the Ramones, Sid Vicious, the Sex Pistols, Pretenders' original days. Okay? Following class? Are we following? Okay? By then, okay, I'm kind of going in chronological order. We've got MTV busting on the scene. So then what do we got? MTV stuff like, Michael Jackson and Madonna and Pat Benatar and I can't go for that. No can do. We got Hall & Oates, Hall & Ass. Okay? Then what else was on MTV? Headbangers Ball, all that stuff. We had heavy metal. Okay? Rat, Motley Crue, Twisted Sister, Kicks. Okay? Then we had metal of a different kind. We had thrash metal, Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, Slayer. We have thrash metal, death metal. All of that shit is not classic rock. Okay? And don't forget New Wave at the same time on MTV. And that New Wave would be like, Girls on Film, like Duran Duran, Flock of Seagull. Remember that guy's hair? It's like, wow. Billy Idol. Okay, I remember an interview with Rat. Stephen Percy was talking about being classified as on classic rock rotations and heavy metal rotations. He's like, we're just a rock band. We're not classic rock. Don't forget the over 25-year-old, so it's got to be classic. 90s style, old grunge style, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. Don't forget the rap that's over, like I said, over 25 years. Snoop Dogg, Coolio. And there's all sorts of Brit stockpile. They called that with like Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears and the Spice Girls. See? It don't all fit in one neat little package. Okay? Old radio used to know how to do that. The new style wants to jam 50, 60 years of music into one easy to digest. Here, have this for brunch. It's the same hits over and over and over again. Satisfies everybody who's really not listening. There's no personality in GJs. They don't pick their own music no more. Everything's put in a package because it's old. It's classic rock. If I hear Leonard Skinner one more freaking time, that's a band that really wasn't really that big. I worked in the radio when Leonard Skinner was around. They weren't really that big in California, Northwest, Midwest radio, New England radio. They were really big in the South. I tried, Andy. I tried. I tried. I walked into the radio stations, and what do I hear? You insult classic rock DJs here locally. Well, it's because Michael Jackson and Prince and the Flock of Seagulls and some 41 isn't classic rock. Okay. You're too much of a smart ass. You get what you pay for, okay? We don't want you to play whatever you want. We'll pick it out in a corporate playlist, and then you got, it's like you giving me the right toys to play. I ain't 7 years old. I don't need someone to pick my music out for me. You don't play with the Tonka toys, you might get hurt. Can't play any Savoy Brown. What? What the hell? The one that I hear here in the local radio? You've never worked local, so you really don't have any experience. Windsor, Ontario, Detroit, Michigan, Lincoln, Nebraska, Missoula, Montana. Huh. Okie dokie. Well, that's another one I've heard is that you're not a recognized brand like some of the local personalities or other cities are. It's like, really, 50,000 followers, I pay for my own podcast. It's not recognizable. Okie dokie. As of right now, Monday the 11th, Great Falls has no true classic rock. Now we know it's a genre because the new corporate conglomerate doesn't think. It's Arbitron Rating. Say, look at our medium. It's like we got a lot of bass people. We got a lot of that, a lot of this. Boomers. I'll admit that classic rock isn't the number one genre on Arbitron Ratings. Like it's third or fourth. You got talk. You got country, modern country, not old country. That's pretty much pop rock. But we don't have any. If you want to hear Led Zeppelin or the Doors, or Mott the Hoople, or Uriah Heep, or Foghat, you got to listen to the one in Helena, because you ain't going to hear it here. people, it's like it's not worthy to, it's not. It frustrates me to know, and it always has. People asking in our community, it's like, it's obvious. It's like, how come we're not, why aren't we like Bozeman? I've seen it on Facebook. I've been to Bozeman. I've been to Helena. I've been to Missoula. It's bustling. It's doing this. It's doing that. Why isn't Great Falls like that? We don't have any classic rock and roll stations. We don't have any record stores. We don't have any real alternative clothing stores. Plenty of Western wear. The city fought legal marijuana in the city limits for how many years? It's like, there's nothing. You want to get cool, you got the import market. Sure, it's a college town. But why does everybody I talk to go to Bozeman and Missoula and Helena to get shop? Because it's not in Great Falls. No classic rock. It's a city you all live in. Maybe you should look at yourselves why we're not like those cities. Why we're not as welcoming, as diverse. Serious, you can't buy anything here. Unless you want to buy cowboy stuff. Oh, it's a cowboy Christmas. It's a cowboy Christmas in Fort Benton, too. How original. What an original slogan that was. Cowboy Christmas. 2 towns within less than 60 miles doing the same slogan. Look, I'm a 68-year-old former rock and roll station manager. I used to play all the music for everybody at the Kagers in high school, 71 to 75. I have extensive knowledge of classic rock music, classic rock culture. Shit, if you guys could zoom back and see what's around me that you can't see. We had AC/DC, Kurt Cobain, Janis Joplin, Jimmy Page, Elvis, John, Snoop, Alice Cooper, Ozzy Osbourne, Eddie Van Halen, Chris Farley. Why is Chris Farley in that mix? Because I love him. I'll work for anybody. If you ever get this station up and going, call me. If you got a rock and roll station in Great Falls, call me. Call me if there's any rock and roll, classic rock to do, to broadcast. I have a broadcast voice. Andy, you're whining me. Been too long. We didn't even get into another topic, did we? Man. Hey, remember everybody, spay and neuter. Adopt, don't shop. Foster, rescue, adopt a pet, shelter pet today. Don't worry about the crappy weather today. It'll be beautiful by Friday. Until next Monday, Andy, we're out of here. We're out of here. If you need a classic rock DJ, you know who to call. Right here. All right, everybody. See you next Monday.